Hello there. In this video, I'll show you how to adjust the headlights on a Mk2 Ford Focus at home by yourself using only basic tools. Welcome to CarSpyTV. Step 1 is to make sure that all 4 tyres are at the correct pressure, because tyre pressure affects the car's ride height and ride height affects where the lights point. Furthermore, so that the ride height is correct, make sure the car isn't excessively and/or unevenly laden. Next, if your Ford Focus has halogen bulbs, you'll find a headlamp levelling switch just there. Now this headlamp levelling switch has a scale that ranges from 0 all the way up to 4, but for now we'll just leave it on 0 and I'll explain more about that later. Next, park the car on a flat level surface, square on to and about 15 feet from a flat surface such as this garage door or a brick wall, and then turn the car's lights on and see where they land. Now in this car's case, the lights are most focused on these points on the garage door, so we need to make a careful note of that. Now, when we adjust the lights, we can see whether they move up, down, left or right, and by how much relative to those points. And of course, if you think you'll have trouble keeping track of the points on your flat surface, you can always mark them with a bit of gaffer tape. Now, there are slight differences depending whether you want to adjust the headlamp on the left of the car or the right. Let's start with the right. So if we look at the top of the right headlamp, we can see 2 adjustment screws. The outer screw is here, and that moves the light left and right, and the inner screw is down there, and that moves the light up and down, and both these screws turn both clockwise and anti-clockwise, and the table on your screen now confirms which direction does what. And that brings us to an interesting question, which is, what type of tools best turn these adjustment screws? Well, we could use an ordinary Phillips screwdriver, but in my experience, this is a little inclined to strip the adjustment screws, which, after all, are only made of plastic. Less likely to cause any damage, in my experience, is a large Allen key. Just make sure yours is a nice snug fit. But better still is a ratchet, which has an Allen key attachment on the end. And this is unlikely to do any damage, and it's much quicker to use a ratchet than a standard Allen key. So, as the example, let's say we want to point the right headlamp higher. Well, as I said earlier, that means we need to turn the inner adjustment screw anti-clockwise. And now, as we turn the ratchet, we can see the light rising on the garage door. Now, everything I've shown you so far has been on the right headlamp, but if you want to adjust the left one instead, there are 1 or 2 differences to bear in mind. So we still have 2 adjustment screws. The outer adjustment screw, which is here, moves the light left and right, which is the same as on the other side of the car, but this one you turn in opposite directions. Okay, now as for the inner adjustment screw, which moves the light up and down, that's a little harder to find. It's just down that hole. Let's see if I can get a decent picture for you. Yeah. There it is. Anyway, have a quick look at this table as it shows you which way to turn the screws. Now, once you look at your flat surface and conclude the lights are properly adjusted, the next thing to do is to take the car for a test drive, preferably at night, and then see how they perform on the road. And then, of course, if necessary, you can come home and make some further adjustments. And bear in mind, if like me, you live in the United Kingdom, the lights are supposed to point slightly to the left so you don't dazzle oncoming traffic. Right. Earlier on, I promised to tell you more about the headlamp levelling switch, which is just down there, and we set to 0. This switch enables us to simultaneously adjust the height of both headlamps as the car's driving along. So 0 is the highest setting and 4 is the lowest. But why do we need this switch? Well, if there's a great deal of weight in the back of your car, that compresses the rear suspension, which in turn slightly raises the front suspension, and then of course your lights point too high and can dazzle other drivers. So this switch solves that problem. You can just select a higher number, lower your lights, and then not dazzle other drivers. But of course, when you are not heavily laden, just leave it down there on 0. Now, if your Mk2 Focus doesn't have that button, don't worry. It's probably because it has Xeon headlamps, which come with a rather fancy automatic levelling system. That's a bit posh. Also bear in mind that whereas we can adjust our headlamps to a reasonable standard at home, particularly with a little bit of trial and error, they're unlikely to be perfectly adjusted because, well, we simply don't have the equipment. A garage does though. So, if you want your lights to be absolutely spot on, take the car to a mechanic who has the right tools. So there you go. That's how to adjust the headlamps on a Mk2 Ford Focus. Now, before you go, don't forget to subscribe to CarSpyTV. That makes it easier to find my other content. Can you also please do me a favour and click like on this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.